You know how to pull those curtains? Please do. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 29th day of January 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 7, The Science of God, Chapter 5, Prahlad Maharaj, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Text 32. Naisham matis tavad urukramangrim spishati anartapagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat naishamatis tavadukrumangrim spishat janartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat naishamatis-tavadukrumangrim prishatyanartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat naishamatis-tavadukrumangrim spishat janartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat. You're up. Naishamatis-tavadukrumangrim spishat janartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat naishamatis-tavadukrumangrim spishat janartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat naishamatis-tavadukrumangrim spishat janartha pagamo yadartaha mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam nishkinchananam navranita yavat. Anyone else?
Naishamatis-tavad urukramangrim
Naishamatis-tavadukrumangrim
prishatyanartha pagamo yadartaha
spishat janartha pagamo yadartaha
mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam
mahiyasam padarajo abhishekam
nishkinchananam navranita yavat
nishkinchananam navranita yavat. Na, not. Esham, of these. Matihi, the consciousness. Tavat, that long. Urukrama Angrim, the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is famous for performing uncommon activities. Spishati, does touch. Anartha, of unwanted things. Apagama, the disappearance. Yat, of which. Artaha, the purpose. Mahiyasam, of the great souls, the Mahatmas or devotees. Padarajaha, by the dust of the lotus feet. Abhishekam, consecration. Nishkinchananam, of devotees who have nothing to do with this material world. Na, not. Vrinita, may accept yavat, as long as. Translation. Sri Prahlad Maharaj said to his father Hiranyakashipu, unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of a Vaishnav completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined toward materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord in this way can one be freed from material contamination. Purport. Becoming Krishna conscious brings about anartha apagama, the disappearance of all anarthas, the miserable conditions we have unnecessarily accepted. The material body is the basic principle of these unwanted miserable conditions. The entire Vedic civilization is meant to relieve one from these unwanted miseries. But persons bound by the laws of nature do not know the destination of life. As described in the previous verse, Isha Tantriam Ududam Nibaddhaha. They are conditioned by the three strong modes of material nature. The education that keeps the conditioned soul bound life after life is called materialistic education. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained that materialistic education expands the influence of Maya. Such an education induces the conditioned soul to be increasingly attracted to materialistic life and to stray further and further away from liberation from unwanted miseries. One may ask why highly educated persons do not take to Krishna consciousness. The reason is explained in this verse. Unless one takes shelter of a bona fide, fully Krishna conscious spiritual master, there is no chance of understanding Krishna. The educators, scholars, and big political leaders worshipped by millions of people cannot understand the goal of life and take to Krishna consciousness, for they have not accepted a bona fide spiritual master and the Vedas. Therefore, in the Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.3, it is said, Nayam Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Namedayana Bahuna Shutena. One cannot become self-realized simply by having an academic education, by presenting lectures in an erudite way, Pravachanena Labhya, or by being an intelligent scientist who discovers many wonderful things. One cannot understand Krishna unless one is graced by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Only one who has surrendered to a pure devotee of Krishna and taken the dust of his lotus feet can understand Krishna. First, one must understand how to get out of the clutches of Maya. The only means is to become Krishna conscious. And to become Krishna conscious, very easily, one must take shelter of a realized soul, a Mahat or a Mahatma, whose only interest is to engage in the service of the Supreme Lord. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Mahatmanas tamam parta daivim prakatimashritaha bhajanchinanya manaso gyatva bhutadam abhyayam. Quote, O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Therefore, to end the unwanted miseries of life, one must become a devotee. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavatya kinchana sarva gunais tattva samasate suraha. One who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna consistently manifests all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods. Bhagavatam 5:18-12. This is spoken by Prahlad. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tatagaro tasyaite katata yartha prakashante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Shvetashvara Upanishad 6.23. Yame vaisha vinate tena labhyas tatsyaja atma vivinate tanum swam. The Lord is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person he manifests his own form. Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.3. These are the Vedic injunctions. One must take shelter of a self-realized spiritual master, not a materially educated scholar or politician. One must take shelter of a niskinchana, a person engaged in devotional service and free from material contamination. That is the way to return home, back to Godhead. Om jnana timirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshur unmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this is the last of these very important 3 verses that we've been studying for some time now. And these are in response to Hiranyakashipu, who became very furious that Prahlad chanted that verse that we studied for so many days. Shravanam kirtanam vishnu smaranam bharat sevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakyam atmani vedanam. You recall that this is a series, there's kind of a theme here. Hiranyakashipu sees his son, he's affectionate to his son, he puts him on his lap, and the first time he asks him, what's the best thing you learned today? Right? He's being educated. He hopes he's being educated in demonic principles, Machiavellian, how to be a good politician and run the kingdom like that. Enemies and friends, that's the big thing. You have to find who's your friend, cultivate the friend to help kill your enemies. You know, this is the whole thing. So the first thing that Prahlad says, this is the first shock that Hiranyakashipu gets, is he's telling him what's the best thing he learned. Tat sadhu. Sadhu in this case doesn't mean a sadhu, it means the best, it means good. Tat sadhu manye asudabhaya dehinam sadasam buddhvigna diyama sadgrahat. Hit vatnapatam griyamanda kupam vanam gatoya bhadamashriyeta. Those words hadamashriyeta struck Hiranyakashipu just like a whip. It means take shelter of Hari. He's my arch enemy. He killed my brother. Hiranyakashipu, he's Vijay or Vijay, but he's completely covered. Now he's in the complete demonic mode. So that was a shock, but it was like, really? You know, and the first thing they looked at scans at the teachers. What did you teach him that? We didn't teach him that. You know, we don't know how he learned. So that was like, okay, he's a little bit deviant. You know, it wasn't like it wasn't like the end of the world. So we'll reform him. He's just a young boy. We can easily teach him. You know. So he teaches him, you know, and Prahlad, and it describes there that he's also studying and learning, and, you know, he's passing his tests. He may not get 100 on each test, but he's all of the teaching, the Machiavellian teachings he's picking up, but he doesn't like it. Why? Because it makes differentiation between friends and enemies. This is one of the characteristics of great devotees, is that, what is that? Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavihastini shuni chaivas bhaketa pandita samadarshinaha. Samadarshana, sama means the same. It's the same word, English and Sanskrit, sama. Darshana means to see. They see everyone as the same. In the sense, not that they're in differentiation, but essentially the same, because they're all living entities. They're all brothers and sisters. We have a relationship. So he started with, whether it's a learned and gentle Brahmin, or the dog, or the elephant, like that. He says the soul is inside. So they see Samadarshana. So where's the friends and enemies come in? You see, that's not there. That vision isn't there. So that was the first thing. Oh, best of the demons. Prabhupada makes a point in the lecture when he's describing this verse. He didn't call him father. You know, he didn't call him father until he was killed. Then he referred to him as his father. Best of the demons. Asura Varya. This is the best thing I've learned. For whom? Prabhupada says on the tape. For every living entity. Dehinams, for the embodied soul. The embodied souls. You know, not the liberated soul. What's one of the characteristics? Very insightful. Very cogent. Sada samudvigna dhyama sadgrahat. Always disturbed in mind, to one degree or another. Samudvigna means to a high degree. Samudvigna dhyam, their intelligence, their consciousness. Because a sadgrahat, they want to grasp, and they've grasped hold of the impermanent as sources of pleasure and safety. Those are the things that we're really after. But that's a fallacious idea. you're taking shelter, you're trying to make the body strong and healthy, and then you have other things that, okay, bank account, we build that up, insurance, we got that. We pay taxes, so we have the Defense Department who will protect us, and all of these things. And in this way, we hope to feel safe, but we don't. You get online, there's a war coming. There's this movie that was shown in 1983. It's called The Day After. Does anyone ever heard of that movie? It was all about what happens in a nuclear war. Do you remember that, Joseph, that movie? Maybe. You remember it. And, we didn't watch movies. I mean, we didn't have, but I was living in a temple there. And it was such an event that they brought in a TV, we all watched the movie. What happens, what is it like the day after the nuclear war starts? You know who watched it? President Reagan. And from out of that, he went to Greenland and he had a meeting with Gorbachev. And he wanted to talk to him about getting rid of all the nuclear weapons. The advisors have to brought him back. No, we don't want to do that. We want to do that, but they didn't want to do it. So anyway, they did have a big treaty. A lot came out of it, and the Cold War got a little colder from that, and then eventually Soviet Union collapsed. Anyway, it's still very dangerous, and the weapons are out there, and at any moment, we can blow up. But yeah, I'm not going to recommend it because I'll get into trouble. But if you can't control yourself and you want to really get soberized, because after all, what are we doing here, right? We're preparing for the moment of death. And we know that really the moment of death is not death, right? My little mantra, nobody dies. Or no, it first starts with everybody dies. But that's, every body dies, but nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. So the whole Bhagavatam is centered on that idea. And all of our preaching is that don't identify with this temporary physical body. This is just one, costume that you're wearing, and you've had many, many more, and you'll have ones in the future. So the real question is, how can you end this round of birth and death, old age, disease, and death? That's the first thing. Now, of course, in the process of bhakti, which is what we're following, which is the most efficacious process to do that, the only real process to do that, that's not our ultimate goal, we know. The ultimate goal is pure love for Krishna. And whether he wants to keep us here, that's okay, for the advanced devotees, as long as I can serve Krishna. That's Lord Chaitanya's teaching. But in the beginning, how to get everybody's attention is that, look, this science is coming down from all these realized souls. They don't have anything to gain by lying. They were living as austerely as possible, and they all say that this the way to escape this round of birth and death is by reestablishing a relationship with God, and leaving this body and not coming back again, because we have no desires and all of our karma is gone. It's a whole science. You have to learn about it. That's what education is. This is all about education. So that is the means, and what is that is the goal, and what is the means? The means is the process of yoga, in general, and what he's saying to his father there is that everyone is disturbed more or less because they're confronted by these things. And they're always in anxiety. So here's what you should do. Don't stay buried in this materialistic household life, which is full of all of this illusion. Hitvatmapatam. Hitvatmapatam means this obstructs the progress of the soul. Give it up. Hitva means reject it. Atmapatam, that which is keeping your soul, you, bound up. Griyamandakupam, which is a short phrase that means basically materialistic life, but materialistic household life, which is mostly what it is. Griyam andakupam. What does andakupam mean? Blind well. A well in which you fall. In India, they have so many wells, and they don't bother to build up the little fence around it, or the little wall. That's what you know with a well, right? It's just a hole in the ground. Get some water out of there, and eventually it goes dry, and they just leave it and gets grown over with grass, right? And so mostly animals will fall in there and die. You can't get out. But if a human being falls in, there's no one around, you're finished. So the materialistic household life is often compared to this blind well. Is that you get into it, and it has the added disadvantage of you thinking you're safe. You're thinking this is what I should be doing, when actually you're just dooming yourself to another life, because it's all built on getting and spending and materialistic attachments. So he's advising his father to give it up. He's giving him good advice. He's the guru. Prahlad Maharaj, 5-year-old boy. Give it up and take shelter of Hari. Go to the forest, it's understood to be Vrindavan by the commentators, and take shelter of Hari. So, needless to say, his father didn't do it. He was trusting in the teachers, Shandanamaka, to set him straight. So they worked on him, and then he comes up with this, what did you learn? What's the best thing today? Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna, Vishnu, and serving him 9 process of devotional service. Well, that's the last thing he thought we were going to hear. So one more time, okay, straighten him out, So they're preaching to him and teaching him all, and he's learning it, He's getting good grades, but he doesn't like it. So finally he comes after this. This is actually after the consequence of the Shravanam Kirtanam. How did you learn it? Where did you learn it from? So the first verse, this is 3 verses, very important verses. Matirna Krishna Padataksvatova. This is the third in the series. And he's describing there, Matirna Krishna Padataksvatova. He's describing who can never become Krishna conscious. And he's describing his father and all materialists. Matirna Krishna Padataksvatova. Matir is your mind. You can't have Krishna in your mind. That's Krishna consciousness. Whether you meet with others, or you do it on your own, or you read any means you try, as long as you do what is described in the second verse. You've taken a vow to stay into this dark well of household life, which of course you think is very nice. That's the grihavratanam. And adanta gobhir, thus your senses remain uncontrolled. This is the first thing we have to do, right? Is that you have to undergo certain discipline and perform austerities in order to practice devotional service. Go against the grain. You can only do it in human life. Otherwise you act by instinct. Some animal, he just serves his senses, So we don't want to be animals anymore. So, adanta gobi, but the materialistic household is stuck his senses are uncontrolled. And vishatam tamisram, therefore he enters more and more into darkness. And what is that famous phrase? This one anyone can learn, it's easy. Punak punash charvita charvananam. I'll say you see. Punak punash charvita charvananam. All right, now I'll explain what it means. Everyone can understand. It's very simple. Charvita means to chew. Charvananam is that which has been chewed. So you're chewing the chewed. Forget about sugarcane for now, which we'll probably never get. Think of bubble gum. Okay, any kind of gum, and we've all chewed some gum. Someone has chewed some gum, it doesn't taste like anything. You spit it out. It's in the street, right? So some poor, homeless guy, he's desperate. Oh, there's some gum. Maybe I can enjoy it. Chew the chew. So we're all like that homeless guy. We're away from our home, right? We're wandering around in the material world. So we're trying to experience pleasure from things that we've already experienced pleasure from, and also the painful reaction. Or we've seen others suffer from it, but we can't control ourselves because we want to enjoy So this is punak punascharvita, life after life. Very graphic and important phrase. Prabhupada uses it all the time. So then he gives the conclusion of that verse. The second verse is most often quoted of the 3. Nate vidu, they, meaning those in the previous verse, who are materialistic people just trying to enjoy in many ways and suffering birth after birth. Nate vidu svarta katimi vishnum. Now, this word svarta is worth understanding. It's made of 2 words, sva and arta. So it's svarta. Artha is something valuable, often means money. As a dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This is a very nice, summary of the usual goals of Vedic life. It ends in moksha, so that's pretty good, but not good enough. Dharma, nate vidu, they don't know. That's what they don't know. The ones, materials, he described in the previous verse. Svartakatim hi Vishnum. That the ultimate goal of self-interest is Vishnu. And not just Vishnu, it's Krishna, service to Krishna. They don't understand it. Nate vidu svartakatim hi Vishnum. And so what are they interested in? Durashaya. Durashaya means very difficult to fulfill hopes. This word asha comes up again and again. We sing it every morning with the Tulsi prayer. It means what you really aspire for. In the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there's this memorable phrase, Krishna describing the demons. Asha pasha shatar buddha. You know this one? Asha means, they're like ropes. These materialistic desires, they're binding us to this material world of suffering. Asha pasha shatar buddha. Hundreds of them. The demons, but they're bound to this, and they don't know it. They think that they're in charge of something. Ashapai. So durashaya means a very difficult to fulfill materialistic goal. Hope against hope, Prabhupada said this phrase. Hope, in other words, it's hopeless. Because your goal is happiness, peace, eternally. You'll never get that. See? So that's durashaya. Bahirartha manina. Where's this artha again? It keeps coming in. Bahirartha, their mind is always absorbed in external desires, external goals, not the internal goal of understanding the soul. And they're encouraged in this by other blind people. They're blind to their self-interest. They're blind to the real goal of life. They have all of their interests and goals, but they're not. Andaya tandaya. Who are the blind people? Beginning with your loving parents, who are completely materialistic, right? They're teaching you, how to do all this stuff. And then you go to school, and it's all like the school that Prahlada's in. So it's andaya tandaya, upaniyamana, the blind leading the blind. It's right out of the Bible, basically. Upaniyamana, te pishtatantam, all of them remain very tightly bound by the ropes of karma, the ropes of three modes of material nature. So how to get out of it? Third verse. The least likely thing Hiranyakashipu is going to do, but this is the actual way that all of us have to do. Naisham. Now, here's one. I'd like to just introduce one very important little Sanskrit idiom, or that we encounter again and again. Very instructive. It's the yavat tavat pair. We know we're first introduced in the Bhagavad Gita to yata tata. It's very simple. Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara. Tata dehandrapadya. So it means just as, it's an analogy. This is how we learn manners. Just like this, then this, you see? Yata tata. Yavat tavat is basically, it's mostly negative. If you don't do this, you won't get this. The yavat can be at the end, which it is. At the very end of this verse is the word yavat. And right in the first line is tavat. So I said, Naisham matis. Don't forget, the whole point is about becoming Krishna conscious, placing your mind on Krishna. Naishamatis tavat uru kramangrim, which is symbolized here by placing your mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, because it's service. When you hear lotus feet, it means service, surrender. So naisham, these tavat, as long as they will not be. One will not be able to place his mind or absorb his mind in the lotus feet of Urukram, the great actor Krishna, Vamana, and all Krishna's incarnation. Naisham matis tavaruru kramangin spishati. Spishati means to touch. Your mind cannot touch, cannot become absorbed in the lotus feet of Krishna, as long as he describes what happens in the second verse. Naisham matis tavaruru spishat yanartapagamo yadarta. Now here's a very clever little turn of phrase. The word artha keeps coming up. See, this is tavaruru spishati anartapagamo. Anartapagami means the end of all anarthas. That in itself is a good goal. So a very good artha is to get rid of your anarthas. You see how that? Anartapagamo yadartha. So becoming Krishna conscious is the way to get rid of all of your anarthas, to achieve that goal. But he says, no, you won't be able to get this, as long as you what? Do not take a bath in the foot dust of a great devotee. Naisham Urukram, especially Mahiyasam. Mahiyasam is the same as Mahatma. The great souls who are completely free of material desire and who are simply filled with desire to serve Krishna and to spread Krishna's glories. The great acharyas. Mahiyasam Padarajo Abhishekam. Abhishek we know. It's the bathing, right? Abhishek, Prabhupada says consecration. You become consecrated, you become holy by bathing yourself in that, taking the charanamrita, getting the water on your head. That's all. Nishkinchana, who is it? Nishkinchana. Nishkinchana means those who are completely free of any hint of material desire. The great Paramahamsa devotees. Navanita Yavat. Yavat is the beginning of the pair. As long as you don't do this, you won't be able to place your mind on the lotus feet of Urukram, which will destroy all your anarthas. You see, you won't be free. So this is a verse that's emphasizing the importance of finding and taking shelter of a pure devotee of Krishna. It comes up again and again. It comes up in the Bhagavad Gita. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti tegem jnanadas tattvadarshina. Tattvadarshana means someone who has seen the truth, who has seen the Lord, who has seen Krishna. Not easy, because Atakshri Krishna Namadi Nambavaigrayam, with our present senses, we cannot see Krishna in his spiritual form. Of course, as my friend Naranta pointed out last night, but we can see, the deity. Krishna is so kind, he comes in the form that we can see and serve, in the form of wood, brass, or through, marble, whatever, And even in paint, even in the mind. There's verses about how, the deity can also be in the form of paint. And this is Prabhupada was so eager from the beginning, from 22nd Avenue, he was so eager to find artists who could paint Krishna, who could paint pictures. He saw those paintings that we're seeing all the time as windows to the spiritual world. In other words, he's looking at this painting, there is Ram and Sita. You see? It's not that there's a picture of Ram and Sita. There is Ram and Sita in the forest. That's the way he's seeing. Can you imagine? We're on Kirtan. They're Navadvip. Look at Lord Chaitanya, he's dancing. This is the way the great devotees see that, you see. So, and then I was thinking, well, okay, why not pixels? I mean, they didn't have the technology back then, so they were talking about painting. So all of these wonderful paintings which have been done, which are now, spread out because of the technology, they can also be great inspirations. We can worship them. We can offer flowers. You can put them on an altar and stuff like that. So back to our verse here. So nishkinchananam navanita yavat. So one has to now. Prahlad was blessed with by Narada Muni before he was even born, right? The greatest guru of all. But he's a Mahajan, of course, and he appears in every canto. Every canto. Some of the Mahajans, they have their star turn, like in the Bhagavad, like Bhishma Dev. He has his wonderful prayers in the first canto. There's no question, so they're all wonderful, Paramahansa devotees. But Narada is most active in terms of preaching, and just according to whoever he's preaching to. If he's preaching to a hunter, he has one, means of doing it, and he's teaching Prahlad, he's giving some, different way. And so anyway, he's very active. Krishna Lila, you read Krishna book. To move the plot on, he tells Kamsa that Krishna is actually the son of Vasudeva, and he's the eighth son coming to kill you. Kamsa got confused, because he was anyway. So Narada Muni is very important. So we need to find someone coming in the line of Krishna through the authorized line, of course, with Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, who's manifesting this quality of having no interest in material pleasures and has nothing. Niskinchana means you don't possess anything, you don't claim anything as your possession, and there's so many other qualities. So that's the way that one can actually serve Krishna in such a way that he accepts that service. He doesn't accept service. You just walk in the temple and and claim. I mean, it's good that you walked into the temple, but he is very particular about who he gives the blessing of being able to serve him, because we learn that, you know, that puts him under the control of the devotee. In other words, the devotee, if he it really develops, so he's very careful who he gives that to, and it always has to go through one of his present intimate servants. That's the whole idea. And then we know, and this is, you know, all the devotees who had a lot of association with Prabhupada in the early days, their whole life was, you know, focused on pleasing Prabhupada, because they knew pleasing Prabhupada meant pleasing Krishna. And you could feel it. You know, you could feel it. Prabhupada, the smile, you know, that made everyone's day, you know. So that's still, that principle is still there, and it's always active. And love me, love my dog, you know, Prabhupada said. You know, this is how So Hiranyakashipu is 1,000,000 miles away from that. You know, he practiced these severe austerities, you know, torturing the body, just become so powerful that he could take over the universe, which he did, you know. And yet, his little son here, a little 5-year-old son, is conquering him because he's protected by God. He's protected by Krishna. And that's a tremendous power, to be able to be so tolerant that no one can really disturb you. I mean, of course, this is supernatural, obviously. You know, they try to crush him. I was reading the list. It was horrific, you know. The snakes and the elephants and the boiling oil and, of course, the choppers whenever you chop them. They couldn't, not only couldn't they kill him, they couldn't disturb him, they couldn't injure him. And Hiranyakashipu was just scared from seeing that. You know, where the power? Where'd you get your power from? Same place you do from God. Where is your God? I don't see any God. You know how it's going to end, you know. Punches the pillar. Out comes the Sringadev. So these verses are worth contemplating, because they're very important for all of us. You know, bathing it's such a wonderful metaphor, bathing yourself in the foot dust. Whenever you hear of the foot dust, that means service, you know. Where else do we hear that? Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavambudo kripaya tavapada pankajastita dhuli sadhushang vichindaya. Lord Chaitanya is teaching us how to pray. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want to, you know, figure out, did we fall from the spiritual? Did not? Well, this verse says, yeah, I fell. Somehow I fell into that. That's enough for me. So it says, you know, for your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. So that's exactly what he's talking about. You know, to regard oneself as an insignificant servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. That's the perfection. It's just opposite material. Material is, let me claw my way up to the top. Now the political season has started, really never stops here in America. Now this is the year, you know. Somebody's going to become the most powerful man, or maybe a woman, you know, the most powerful person in the world. Right, you know, and it's just madness. And so real strength comes from understanding our insignificance and taking shelter of Krishna through the proper channel and becoming a servant of Krishna. And thus transcending all of this madness, this duality of this. Remember that famous verse I'm always quoting about where did the fear come from? Because material life means fear, with little spots of, you know, where you can convince yourself I'm fine, or I'm good. Right? How often do you hear that on Sankirtan? I'm good. And what does Vijay use that line? But you could be better. Do you use that one too? People are trying to convince, I'm good, I'm all right. I'm all right, you know. No, nobody's all right in this material world. Everybody is threatened by imminent destruction. And if you have no, you know, spiritual assets, no bhakti assets, you probably lose the human form of life. It's horrific. So we have the great fortune of human life and the knowledge that if we absorb, can actually be the medicine to cure the disease of birth and death. So it behooves us to give it as far as possible and to take it as much as ourselves. There's one nice verse about where a devotee prays to become a miser. Does everyone remember that one? I think I've shared it with a few. It's in the Padyavali. And the Sanskrit goes, Vichayani, Vichayani, Vichinjani, Panokpanaha, Kripanasa Dhananiva, Tvannamani Bhavantu Naha. So what's great about this book, these are Rupa Goswami's favorite verses. This is his nectar file. There's almost 400 verses in there. Most of them are not written by him. A few are, but most are not. This is not by him. I forget who wrote it. But I put it into a poem, and this is we can pray like this. Compelled to constantly collect and count his precious hoard, the miser contemplates his wealth with avaricious aims. Please bless me to become a miser who's compelled, O Lord, to constantly collect and count and contemplate your names. So that greed, right? This is another verse about how greed is important. You remember that? Many, many years ago, there was a movie, I think long before I joined it. You know, the greed is good. It's about Wall Street or something. No, it's not good. That kind of greed. But greed can still be, dovetail. So this verse is actually by Ramananda Roy, although it's quoted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Prabhupada sometimes attributes it to Rupa Goswami. It says, Krishna Bhakti Dasa Bhavitam Ati Kriyatam Yadikutopi Labhyate Tatta Laulyam Abhimulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukatayana Labhyate. So this is similar to the miser verse. So I don't have a poem for this one, but it says, what's really interesting about this verse, the first line, Prabhupada said, this is the origin of the phrase, Krishna consciousness. Just become kind of famous. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavidam Mati. Mati here is again, just like Matisi, means the mind. The mind absorbed in Krishna Bhakti Rasa, in the mellows of devotional service. Okay. Krishna Bhakti Bhavana Kriyatam Yadikatopi Labhyate. You should buy it if you can find it. If you can find it in the marketplace, you should buy it. Okay, what's the price? Tattva laulyam. Prabhupada yells this when he's chanting. Tattva laulyam abhimulyam ekalam. Mulyam is price, laulyam is greed. This is very poetic. Tattva laulyam abhimulyam ekalam. The only and sole price is your strong desire for it, is your greed for it, your absolute madness for it. Janma koti sukatayana labhyate. Millions of births of pious activity will not buy you the eagerness, will not buy you the greed or the Krishna Bhakti Dasa Bhavidam. So what will? You have to know where to get it. You have to be greedy for it, and you have to know where to go to get it. Lotus feet of the great devotees. And that nice verse that Narendra was quoting last night. Sorry, there's so much Sanskrit in it, but this is the way I'm thinking today. And this verse is very important to understand from Bhagavatam. It appears twice. I'm going to write him. There's one verse that appears 5 times, or with slight variation, but 3 times identically. I'd say he'll be interested in that one. But this one is very famous. Tulyama lavenapi nasvargam nopanabhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kimutashisha. Just contemplate that third line for a minute. Bhagavat is Bhagavan, Krishna. Sangi is someone who's associating with, an associate. You see? An associate of Krishna means God-man. In other words, great Paramahamsa, purely Krishna conscious person, always walking with God, conscious of God, hearing God, seeing God everywhere. That's a Bhagavat Sangi. Sangasya, the association. So what this verse says is Tulyama, equivalent to Tulyama Lavenapa, even a moment's, split second association with an associate of the Lord, a pure devotee of the Lord, Bhagavat Sangha, that is more valuable to Lavenapi Naswargam than going to heaven, than attaining liberation. What to speak of some material wealth in this material, it's just millions of times greater, you see? Because we know from that moment's association, sadhu sangha, sarva sangha, lavamatra, same word, lavamatra sadhu sarva siddhi hoy. A moment's association with such a great devotee can give you perfection in life. The siddhi, which is liberation, going back to Godhead. Why? Because if you're inspired, if you receive that and you're intrigued, then you'll want to hear, you want to associate again. And we have such a great way of associating with Prabhupada, through the books, through the YouTube series, following Srila Prabhupada is incredible, and all those memories, it's incredible. We've been given that gift. And by that association, you'll be inspired by the words to take up the process. By ado, shraddha, some faith, some interest, tata sadhu sangha, associated with this, and then comes bhajana kriya. All right, let me try chanting too. I'll take 2 rounds a day. Hare Krishna. 2 rounds a day and read this book. And tell us, and come back in a week, or come back. And so that association, it's all association. It's all on the words. Sacred name is also words. The knowledge is coming through these words. And that sacred sound vibration is our only hope in this world. So we should take as much advantage of it as possible and follow the nectar of instruction. What will impede it? Oh, prajalpa, that, the material sounds, no. I went to, forgive me. I thought I'd see you on Saturday because I was doing my laundry again on Saturday. And all right, what kind of lesson do we learn from the laundry? There's a lady there who we sold the books to, right? My name was on the list like once in the last 5 years, and it was for being involved in giving this lady some books. Bhagavad Gita she had, But she's still playing the Karmi music while she's working in the laundry. She even asked me, is that music okay for you? I was going to say, no, shut it off. But, I said, oh, yeah, it's fine, But I'm going to try to go on Friday from now on because the other one, the sound, I was trying to sing Hare Krishna in the same key as they were doing it. So, it wouldn't be, I don't want to come in there with my earphone, But the sound is everything. The sound will corrupt us and take us to hell, or if we pick the right sounds, by the instruction of Shastra, then that will take us back to Godhead. So I'm sorry, I kind of went on a long time. Any questions, comments? Okay, senior man here.
Oh,
give it to him. You get your turn.
I remember that you mentioned about collapse USSR and
about what?
Collapse USSR, Soviet Union.
Oh yes.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you.
Srila Prabhupada was there. I also know that it collapsed.
You were there. You were around at that time.
And he said that it in 20 years it will collapse, and he predicted.
Who did?
Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, really?
When he was there.
Okay. Well, Srila Prabhupada, he took a visit, and a very significant visit. He initiated one boy, right? What was his name? Ananda Shanti. 3 days. He taught him as much as possible, and he taught him. And at that time, books were being, I think, written and copied and then sold underground. It was an incredible story, And so Krishna Khandra was in, and it was like, because of the years of preaching this atheism, right, religion with it, is that there was a great thirst. And it wasn't just Krishna Khandra, all kinds of things were getting done. But that was, the movement really grew fast there, And there's wonderful devotees there. As we know, we have our 2 little samples here, Vijamani and Veerachandra. Yeah, so that's, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, that's Prabhupada did predict it. He went and, he planted the seed. Even the moments that, okay, he stayed a few days, but he planted that seed and it's fructified in wonderful yatra, Okay, you're on.
it's okay. A different question. Prabhupada said something about people who could speak German could more easily learn Sanskrit. Have you heard that?
There is I learned German when I was a kid, but I haven't used it. But there's a fair amount of similarity and parallelity in the German language and the Sanskrit language, yes. And so you find quite a few German scholars in Sanskrit, like that. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah. Anyone else? Local or remote? No, I guess not. He's always boycotting.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
You do have a question? May I?
Go ahead. Oh, all right. Then we'll yes, go ahead, Prabhu. We have time. Okay.
No, I can wait. If
Did you have
temple
something?
room devotee
Okay,
would like to go first.
All right. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Thank you for class.
Thank you. You're welcome.
The
Just hold it
verse,
close.
the verse that I'm trying to remember is the one where it says, like, I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Vaishnav, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm the devotee of the devotee of the devotee of the devotee of the devotee. What is that verse?
That's a verse written by Lord Chaitanya. Yes. It says, the verse goes like this, Naham vipro, nachanada bhatiya napi vaishon shudro. Naham varni nachagrihabhatiya novanasto yatirva. Kintu prodyan nikala padamanan napurnam vitabdir gopi bhatu padakamalayo dasa dasa anudasa. That's the part you remember, servant of the servant of the servant. So Lord Chaitanya is saying, I am not a Brahmin, I am not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya Shudra. There's something called Varnashram. I don't know if you're familiar. There's 8 social orders and 4 social orders, 4 spiritual orders. So these are the social orders, you know. I'm not a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya Shudra. I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not a Grihastha, I'm not a Vanaprastha or a sannyasi. So I don't belong to any of these, you know. Then what are you? I'm simply a servant of the servant of the servant. Now he says 3. There's another verse where it goes like 8. But he says, I'm not a servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is the beloved of the gopis. You see? So that's the idea. So, we can feel that too. You know, in other words, we want to serve Krishna, but he's more happy when we serve his servants, the servants, the servants. So that is a sign of humility. That not just a servant of the servant, but a servant of the servant of the servant, you know. So that means that we should serve each other as much as possible. And, you come to a temple and the temple commander, we had a temple commander, we still have a temple commander, right? And usually he's serving the temple president, but anyway, you just try to, serve the devotees and help out in the temple, and you're doing that. And Krishna is very pleased with that. And then the next time you chant Hare Krishna, you'll feel a little increase. You'll feel that you're progressing. So that's that verse. Thanks for reminding me of that one. Okay, Vijay Krishna, you're on.
Yes, Dravida Prabhu, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Kind. Dandavat pranams. Do you mind reciting again the last quote from the Mundaka Upanishad 3.2.3 in the purport?
Okay. 3.2.3. I got it right here. Okay. Nayam atma pravartanena labhyo namedayana bahunashutena.
No. The last one in the purport, at the very end of the purport.
Okay, I thought you said Mundaka Upanishad.
Yes, and it is from Mundaka Upanishad.
Yeah, that's the same verse. That's the second half of the verse. Yame vaisha vinate tena labhyas tasyaisha atma vivinate tanusmam. If you go to that other one I quoted, it's the same quote, the same reference. But go ahead.
Yes, I know.
Should I read the English?
Oh, please.
The Lord is obtained only by one whom he himself chooses. To such a person he manifests his own form.
Exactly. That is the quote. So based on this quote, my question is, and for me to present my question, I need to say the following very quickly. When I go to the supermarket to buy, for example, milk for the temple, if I take with me the money, the required money, and I pay for the milk, then I come from the supermarket with the milk to use it in the temple. But in relation to the process of Krishna consciousness, after becoming initiated, what happens is that I pay the price for obtaining I don't know what, because what is being said in this quote from the Mundaka Upanishad is that we have no certainty that Krishna will sell himself to us. But still, by accepting initiation, what happens is that I am paying the price. I am chanting my rounds. I am waking up early in the morning. I am studying the books for 1 hour or 2. What more? I am observing the 4 regulative principles. So the money is being paid without the certainty that Krishna will sell himself to me. So the exact question is, why would I be interested in such a process which makes me pay for obtaining something that I don't know what it is?
Are you done?
I'm not knowing that if Krishna
I
is
understand. I think we understand the question. Okay. So here's the idea, is that think of the word patram pushpa, the verse patram pushpam palam toyam. You familiar with that famous verse from Bhagavad Gita 9:26 about what we eat, how we eat. You have to eat.
Water.
Yeah. So a leaf, fruit, flower, water, palam toyam, yome bhaktya priyachati, tadaham bhakti param ashnami payatatma. When they are offered with love and devotion, I accept them, I eat them, and then they become prasadam, right? So the idea is that it's not just the things that you do, but it's how you do it. It's your consciousness that you have while performing it. In other words, two devotees are in the temple, or three devotees are in the temple chanting Hare Krishna, their rounds, right? And from externally, everyone's doing their duty and chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But one devotee, for whatever reason, is disturbed in mind, and he can't concentrate. He's not really hearing very much. He's chanting, but he's only hearing intermittently. The second devotee is not disturbed. He's hearing much better. He's having a different experience because he's able to hear each word. The third devotee is also hearing, but at the same time he's chanting with the emotion that Prabhupada recommended. Saying, "Oh, I'm so fallen. I'm having, I'm desperate. Oh, Krishna, please engage me in your service." There's a mood there. That is a teaching of Queen Kunti. We hear in chapter 8. Aishrayasya samagasya virya yasya sakshaya. No, that's Krishna. I'm sorry. What is it? Janmashaya. Sorry. Janmashaya shuddha shivda edamana madakpaman. Naiva hatyabidatam nachama kinchana gochara. This kinchana came up in the last verse. Nishkinchana. So he says, my dear Lord, you are very easily approachable, but only by those who are not progressively intoxicated with the four basic, desire for the four basic opulences. Good birth and wealth, of course, and good education and personal beauty. Because those who are absorbed in these things, they may be chanting also, but they cannot chant with deep feeling. They cannot chant with deep feeling, with genuine feeling. So that it's not just that you're externally doing it, but the heart, how you're feeling. That's why Krishna says at the end of the Gita, "Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanjastasmi tatvata." He doesn't mention exactly what you do in that bhakti. But it's the bhakti, it's not the activities you're doing. Now the activities of chanting, associating, these will evoke, these are meant to evoke real feeling and be purifying, so that your chanting is but still, it's not so mechanical. That's why it said Krishna chooses, the Lord is the only one whom He Himself chooses. He chooses only on the criteria of what that living entity feels of the feeling. Now, just to come to the temple and to say the holy name, that's the beginning, and Krishna favors that, as opposed to those who never even, who are enemies of devotees, the enemies, or disinterested. Then they're just in the modes of nature and in the hands of Maya. But those who make the effort to come, even if they're just new and they don't know anything and they don't really have it, they're still blessed. With some realization or some interest, and they come back again and gradually become purified. So it's a question of the purity and sincerity and bhakti that you do these different services. That's the difference. And Krishna will respond, as we see throughout the Bhagavatam, to those who manifest that actual feeling and that love for Him. And those are the ones who He responds to. And indeed He says, I'm not independent. When Durvasa Muni goes up all the way to Vaikuntha, he's being chased by the chakra, from he insulted Ambarish, who was very favored, And he says, but please stop your chakra. He said, I can't. Narayan says, I'm controlled by my devotees. Paradino, I forget the actual Sanskrit, there's 3 famous verses. You got to go back there and get Ambarish. He said, okay, here I go, And Ambarish said, please, Chakra, you let him go. Oh, okay, fine. So it's all a question of the quality of the bhakti, of the quality of the service, which is saturated with love. Even the little simple, rice bowl that you prepare, if it's done with love, Krishna will relish and eat it. Lord Chaitanya took the rice that Raghunath Das was eating, which was rejected rice, stale rice that he had found in the field, because they make so much, they can't distribute it all. So he washed it, and that was his taking. The emblem of renunciation. But he was very beloved of Lord Chaitanya and super advanced. And he wrote this, one of my favorite prayers of all time, which I'll end with. Devi dukkha kula sagarogare duyamanam apidurgatam janam tam kripapa balanauka yabatam prapaya supadapankajaliham. O Devi, O Goddess Radharani, I am drowning in an ocean of misery in separation from you. Please place me on the strong boat of your mercy and take me to the infallible refuge of your lotus feet. You can offer that to Radharani every morning. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Oh, Dravida Prabhu has to be expected better than okay. I do not know what adjective to use, because I liked it so much when you explained that without the right feeling, Krishna becomes entitled to say no to choosing us. And the right feeling, like you so wonderfully explained, is not different from...
It's not as hard a no as he says to those who are the enemies of his devotees, but he's he waits for you to he's exactly proportionate. Ye yatam apapadyante tam tadaiva bhajamyaham. He responds proportionally to our actual bhakti and our feeling. That's the idea. All right, we need to adjourn.
And the serious devotee will develop the right feeling, no?
Yes, if you associate, but you have to consciously try to get rid of our anarthas and to become more pure. That has to be there. All right, we got to adjourn. We're way over time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol. Sorry about